good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you may be. My name is Rashad Lartey. I go by affectionately Baba Lartey, Professor Lartey, whichever you may prefer. I'm here just as a humble servant, man. Who am I? I am blessed to have been a first generation African. My father is from Ghana, West Africa. My mother is from the good old Midwest. I am a father of 4 biological children, married and divorced happily. About 7 children total if you count my bonus children out there. Shout out to the little one, not so little no more. I'm an educator by training of almost 20 years now. I'm an entrepreneur and a jack of all trades, a master of a few, but usually that's better than you. So I'm here to discuss with you tonight, a brief history on the state of black manhood. In 2024, today is March 28th, and it's just a lot got going on with my fellow male species, my fellow mellow representatives of the species, however you want to put it. And so I want to start off just by spending a quick minute to discuss, the issues that I would hope everybody's aware of, but we can always do more research of how black manhood in America was shaped by not all traumatic events, but some successes. When you think about Black Wall Street, when you think about organizing churches on plantations, and et cetera, the long list of things that black men have accomplished, from building D.C. to, finally earning the presidency. And I want to speak to the difference in how black manhood, from my perspective, being born and raised in America, only have been back to the continent recently as an adult. I can speak to black manhood from kind of an outside perspective in terms of what it looks like in Africa. But I know that in America, a big part of black manhood, and I would love for somebody to step in and help me to expand this, or correct me if they feel like I'm wrong. But a lot of it had to do with the streets. I was born in 87, so I'm an 80s baby, and a lot of my manhood was wrapped up in, how much could I disrespect another black man? Was I afraid of the police? Was I afraid of the system, as we often say? And wrapped up in that, a lot of those things, at least from my perspective and my experience as a man, being raised in the Midwest, it was not a whole complete picture, right? And if I would compare that to what I know of manhood on the continent, first off, it's a variety. It's 52 countries. It's not all the same. Similar to how it will be here in the States or in the Gates. But I know for a fact that there were some principles of self-control, self-discipline, and self-mastery that I think overlap and will continue to expand and tease them things out, or as they say, unpack those layers, peel back the onion. But it's going to take some time, so I hope that you rock with me, right? So that's where we wanted to start, understanding it's a difference between how black boys are raised on the continent within a cultural frame of the African continent, wherever you may be, because it's Africans on all the continents, in relation to, the history of black men here in America, right? So then I'll jump to what are some of the negative issues, man, the things that are negatively impacting black manhood. I think at the core of it are unaddressed mental and emotional issues. Brothers is sensitive, man. Brothers is way more emotional than women. I've said it for years. Way more emotional in any context. That's why you see so many brothers shooting and killing each other, because they emotional. We are thoroughly oppressed. And as the great, Honorable Shahrazad Ali said just recently in an interview, it's the same issues. The system has created a situation where black men are always fighting to catch up. And it's a myth of an idea that you are half as good to get, half the recognition and to get half the jobs, as they say. And we know, last hired, first fired. So those unaddressed mental issues. And of course, we got to speak to the core of that being the post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? So mental health, man. The second one, I would argue, is a lack of financial literacy and understanding. Nobody taught me about credit. Until I was probably in my 20s or 30s, that was something that I was self-taught on, right? And that's partially because I didn't have the initiative to go out there and do it. It's partially because it wasn't talked about at home with family, with elder men, right? Or a father in particular. It's layers to that, but also it's a part of society not making that something. That should be a part of your K through 12. As an educator, it doesn't make sense that we're not teaching financial literacy. I always go with classes I work with. I was a science educator, middle school, am a science educator, And so we always used to talk about how, back in 87, back in 05 when I graduated, 87 when I was born, the price of Nike was like dollars, cents on the dollar back in the 80s. If you just simply would have bought and held that Nike stock, that Apple, Microsoft stock, whatever the hell that it may have been, you would easily be in a different financial situation, and again, be able to be building this bank and this financial this financial stability, this financial freedom and independence that essentially was taken away from us through slavery. When we dig into it, that's the point of slavery. If you tap into Dr. Claude Anderson, honorable, right? Black labor, white wealth, he spoke to that fact that the percentage of wealth owned by black people in this country is still the same a decade after slavery as it is today, 2024. So dig into that, fact check that, all right? The last one, I think, is this lack of generational knowledge. We're going to get super educational about it, but really what we're saying is it's not no OGs passing down the knowledge. And they're not a group of elder men, not just older, right, but responsible, financially literate, emotionally grounded and sound and mature, that are able to just sit down on the porch, whether that's sipping a blunt, sipping a drink, smoking a blunt, whatever the hell it may be, but passing that knowledge down from older generation through experience, through failures, through successes, down to the youngers, so that we don't all follow these same mistakes and bump our heads following the same path that someone did before us. So as I close, I'm going to step into these ideas, and this is just the first intro, the ideas on how we can flip this stone back over, right? How we can, right this path, this ship, so to speak. And the first thing I speak to is younger men that are coming of age, breaking these generational cycles of dysfunction. It sounds real fancy, but simply, everybody got that wino uncle, and again, as I'm going quote Dr. Shahrazad Ali, the honorable, again, from this interview just recently, highly initiated, I think they were. Check them out on YouTube. Long story short, these are the same issues that we've dealt with for generations. And the pressure that has, sadly, I could say, broken some black men is heavy. And it's passed down and it's inherited. And we'll talk about these epigenetic traumas and high cortisol levels that are passed down from generation to generation unaddressed, right, for men in the family. The second thing I think we have to do to start moving forward, regaining that humanity, is to really gain and build a foundation of financial independence. As I said, whether that's through life insurance and you put that in the trust, you've had to have seen this on the social media by now. They give you the play for free. They give you the play for free to build that trust, to put that money in that trust, to put your assets in that trust, your vehicle, your home, your business, and to make your last name an asset. I saw one the other day on Facebook talking about make your business name Latin, because that's how they identify the different categories of business. They giving you the plays. We got to run them. So really building that financial independence for the next generation. And last but not least, for solutions, always shouting out Soke Toure, Kwame Toure. Kwame Toure, brother from the Caribbean, and he would say, Organize. Kwame Ture, also known as Stokely Carmichael. Organize. That's the solution. Building what I've been taught is known as dual and contending powers. Meaning that if there are organizations and institutions, educationally in particular, that don't serve the needs and the interests of black children, we have to develop alternatives. Whether that's in curriculum, and I mean collectively, not one person, or whether that's in whole institutions and different policies, it has to be pushed that we can develop our own test, right? We always talk about in education the standardized test and the education gap, and the fact that these tests are, lack of a better phrase, the people that make them are not interested in our cultural frame of reference. And so it's difficult a lot of times for middle schoolers and high schoolers to relate to things that they have not experienced, right? That they're reading on this test. So we'll continue to build into that, but that's the last piece I say is build that dual and contending powers so that we can start saving the next generations and they won't have to always have this deficit mentality, right, as black folk. So again, Professor Lartey tapping in with y'all, man. I hope it was a good conversation. We keep it brief. We're going to make sure to come back with y'all next Tuesday and Thursday is when we post. And, of course, we got to ask you to go ahead, hit that follow, like, share, and subscribe buttons, all of them things, right? Go ahead and follow Rok Tha Konvo on all social media. That's ROK THA KONVO. Rok Tha Konvo on all social medias. And we want to hear from you, man. Please comment your questions or concerns below, and most importantly, if there are topics that you want to talk about, if you want to hear about, go ahead and send us an email. That's at ROKTHAKONVO@gmail.com. Rok Tha Konvo. Thank y'all for tapping in, man. Until next time. Uhuru.